On June 3, 2017, three attackers killed 7 and injured more than 48 after striking pedestrians on the bridge and stabbing people in a market of London Bridge.
What I need you to do is move towards safety.
In a similar event in March, 5 people were killed in a car and knife attack near Parliament in London, and 2 weeks ago 22 people died in suicide bombing at a concert in Manchester. Police believe all of the attackers were killed in the latest attack, but investigations are underway to ensure that there were no more. However, Islamic State militants claimed responsibility for the London Bridge attacks. The terror group, which had been hailing the carnage throughout the day on its online accounts and anonymous message boards, said its fighters carried out the rampage according to Site Intelligence Group, which tracks the web activity of jihadist organizations. Cruising hashtag Brits now living in a state of terror and fear. Where is your great kingdom now? Hashtag London Bridge, said one post shared by Site's director Rita Cards. Another missive included the iconic image of Royal Air Force bomb with "Love from Manchester" written on it, referring to the recent attack on the Ariana Grande concert and adding that the weapon is your merchandise, and tonight we responded. The attack on London came just a few hours after Islamic State's Nashr's news agency called for followers to kill the civilians of the Crusaders with guns, knives and trucks, according to the Telegraph. British Prime Minister Theresa May says she is looking at making it easier to deport foreign suspects as she seeks to gain control of security agenda before elections.
We need to take on the ideology that unites and motivates the perpetrators of these attacks. We need to get international agreements to regulate cyberspace, to stop the terrorists planning online. We need to stamp out extremism in our own communities here in Britain. And as we see the threat changing, evolving, becoming more complex, we need to ensure that our police and our security and intelligence agencies have the powers they need. And what... Let me just tell you a little bit about what I mean by that. I mean longer prison sentences for those convicted of terrorist offences. I mean making it easier for the authorities to deport foreign terrorist suspects back to their own countries. And I mean doing more to restrict the freedom and movements of terrorist suspects when we have enough evidence to know they are a threat, but not enough evidence to prosecute them in full in court. And if our human rights laws stop us from doing it, we'll change the laws so we can do it.
Sadiq Khan, the London's first Muslim mayor, said he was appalled and furious, urged Londoners to remain both calm and vigilant as more attacks were highly likely, but said Brits had proved their stoicism in the face of terror. Mr. Khan, who described the assault as a deliberate and cowardly attack on innocent Londoners, said that some of the injured were in critical condition, raising the possibility that the death toll would rise. He will never let these cowards win, and we will never be cowed by the terrorism, he said.
London stands in defiance against this cowardly attack on our city, our people, our values and our way of life. As the Mayor of London, I want to send a clear message to the sick and evil extremists who commit these hideous crimes. We will defeat you. You will not win.
The Muslim Council of Britain also condemned the attack and praised the emergency services. At the same time, Donald Trump's petty attacks on the Sadiq Khan epitomize his use of terror as a political prop. With his London tweets, Trump embarrasses himself and Americans once again. President Trump attacked London Mayor Sadiq Khan and rallied against political correctness in a series of tweets, appearing to misrepresent a quote from the mayor meant to reassure his city in order to scorn Khan's response to terror attacks in the English capital. The US president was referring a statement by Khan in which he said that citizens should not be concerned about an increased police presence in the wake of the attacks that killed 7 people and sent at least 48 to hospital across London. The US president's instinctive response to the murder of innocent human beings is to politicize their deaths.
President Trump has been tweeting about the attacks. One of the first ones, we need to be smart, vigilant, and tough. We need the courts to give us back our rights. We need the travel ban as an extra level of safety. This morning, do you notice we are not having a gun debate right now? That's because they used knives in a truck. At least 7 dead and 48 wounded in the terror attack, and Mayor of London says there is, quote, no reason to be alarmed.
The spokesman for Khan responded to the Trump's tweet and said that the mayor is busy working with the police, emergency services, and the government to coordinate the response to this horrific and cowardly terrorist attack and provide leadership and reassurance to Londoners and visitors to our city. He has more important things to do than responding to Donald Trump's ill-informed tweet that deliberately takes out of the context his remarks, urging Londoners not to be alarmed when they saw more police, including armed forces, on the streets. In an earlier statement on Twitter, Khan said he was appalled and furious at the sickening attack. He condemned the incident and called the perpetrators barbaric cowards. Republicans and Democrats on June 4 commented on President Trump's tweets calling for a travel ban and criticizing the mayor of London after an attack in Britain's capital left 7 people dead the day before.
Well, George, there's really no evidence to suggest that by banning Muslims or banning Muslims from a particular set of 6 countries.
One of the things that concerns me about the president's tweets this morning, where he in effect is calling for a Muslim travel ban again, even though the courts have continued to turn that down.
My view is the president does have certainly the right to put in place extreme vetting.
The president is right, however, that we need to do a better job.
Cannon fodder to the recruiters. It's the worst thing we could do. But we do need to do, and we do, extraordinary screening, but a great deal more effort has to go into the building of community, the reaching out and working with these entities, with these sectors of society.
A US congressman has called for a war against Islamic horror in response to the attacks in London. For instance, Clay Higgins, Republican representative of Louisiana's 3rd Congressional District and volunteer law enforcement officer, said in a social media post on Sunday, the free world, all of Christendom, is at war with radicalized Islamic suspects. He said not a single radicalized Islamic suspect should be granted any measure of quarter. Their intended entry to the American homeland should be summarily denied. Every conceivable measure should be engaged to hunt them down, hurt them, identify them, and kill them. Kill them all for the sake of all that is good and righteous. Kill them all. Finish the post with kill them all. This statement by Higgins, which has been shared more than 2,500 times and spawned 1,400 comments, was released hours after 3 men using knives and a vehicle killed 7 people during a bloody rampage in central London. The US media says London is reeling, but Londoners beg to differ. Londoners today are standing up for the capital after a leading US newspaper said the country was still reeling from the Manchester bombing. The New York Times tweeted that Saturday's attack at London Bridge hit a nation still reeling from the shock of the bombing in Manchester 2 weeks earlier. Not all Londoners agreed, and one man seen making sure his print was safe while fleeing the scene has become a symbol of the capital's spirit. While Will Straw, founder of the political website Left Foot Forward, added, the UK is mourning, angry and defiant, but we are not reeling. Dear viewers, in the wake of the London Bridge attack, American media described the city as under siege in a country still reeling from the Manchester attack in May. However, people in British media have denied this impression and negativity on part of the US media. Rather, some of the luminaries have slammed US media for insulting coverage of the London attack. However, the social media is creating huge discussion on London attack, and new terminologies are being coined like Trump effect on the analogy of a political communication theory, CNN effects, indicating how tweets and statements by the US president are viewed and discussed by the people at large. It seems that insane and senseless statements by the US president are becoming vehicles of the US media discussions.